welcome back. It's go-to time. Now we're going to go from number 80 all the way down to number 71. 10 go-to albums. Not as many needle drops this week. Most are blocked. It's pretty amazing. I think more and more as I get down further, I'm going to have more and more blocked go-tos. Listen in the background. You can kind of enjoy them. So tonight it is sponsored, because it is nighttime when I'm filming this. It's sponsored by Vandy. That's right, it is Session Cider. I really don't know what a stupid word. Session Cider? What does it mean? It means if Vandy is an answer. Oh hell, it says an apple a day. I don't know. Hey, I like cider. That in 1981, my first trip to England. First time I ever got drunk, and it was on cider. Became a fan ever since. Good stuff. Really good. So let's start off. Number 80. Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. This came out in 1968. Johnny Cash hadn't had a hit in 5 years. I mean, he was like in the wilderness. Should we call the amphetamine wilderness? Just, he was trying different things, but everything was, he was messed up, so his music was kind of messed up at that time. And then finally, he met June Carter, and June Carter said, if you're interested in me, you just better clean up your act. And he did. So they decided he'd always wanted to record in prisons. And at first, the Columbia had said no, but then they relented and let him do it. So he did this in front of 2,000 inmates and a whole lot of guys holding guns. And he went in, everything was censored on what he could play, and he did 2 concerts. And he had the Statler brothers, and he had Carl Perkins with him. And this, what a great classic album. It starts off just with, hello, my name's Johnny Cash, which is how he started all his shows. And then he starts into prison, Folsom Prison Blues, with such great lyrics as, I shot him in Reno. I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Hey, you're in a prison. That's what they love to hear. I don't know how well that was edited out, but hey, it's part of the song. He does songs. He does Jackson with June Carter, and it's just probably one of the best renditions when you hear those two singing that song. He does slow songs, he does fast songs. He does some of his classics like Orange Blossom Special, and does a beautiful rendition of A Long Black Veil, which is kind of one of my favorite songs by him, by the band, whoever does it. There's the very sober song, 25 Minutes to Go. At 25, it's a song about a man's last 25 minutes before he's executed, and it just walks through those 25 minutes and what he thinks. The songs were about redemption and about a new life. It was to be an inspiration for those prisoners. And one of his prison shows that he did, Merle Haggard was there, and he decided, I want to be a singer. This is such a great classic album. It's well worth to have in any collection. He did 2 shows when he was there, and this came out, Record Store Day, a few years back, and it's the complete sessions, both of them. They wanted to do 2 because they were afraid that the first one, if it was bad, well, we need to do another one. It's kind of hard to get the whole prison filled up again. So the prisoners, one batch came in for one show, the other batch came in for another show. So number 80, Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison. Wow, I can't say that. Number 79. This came out in 1976. It's Al Stewart, Year of the Cat. This is the second Al Stewart album I bought. The first one was Time Passages. I was in college and I bought that. But now I had FM radio, and on the radio I heard Year of the Cat. wow, that is really nice. So I bought that. I still love Time Passages, but this one is more of my go-to. The album was produced and engineered by Alan Parsons, and it went to number 5 in the charts, primarily because of the hit Year of the Cat, but also On the Border, which, you know, in the background you can hear playing. This, you know, Al Stewart, he wanted to be a rocker. He never wanted to sing soft ballads, but guess what? His voice wasn't right for being a rocker, so here you have it, you know, he found his niche. You know, he would write and do all the orchestration of the songs first, then he'd come up with about 4 sets of lyrics, and at the very end decide what the song would be called. So he kind of worked in a different way. What I always liked about Stewart was just his instrumentation and how he orchestrated the songs. You know, there is Midas Touch on here, and Midas Touch has this beautiful organ going on in the background, which is then followed up with If It Doesn't Come Naturally, Leave It. And it's just this wonderful tinkling piano. You know, and he loved historical songs. If you listen to any Al Stewart record, he has tons of historical songs. On here, I'm going to play you a sample of Lord Grenville. It's the one that I can actually sample. And it's a song about the Elizabethan sailor, Sir Richard Grenville, or Lord Grenville. Someone had to write a song about him, I guess, and he felt he did. His lyrics, let me just read you this. This is from Year of the Cat. On a morning from a Bogart movie, in a country where they turn back time, you are strolling through the crowd like Peter Lorre contemplating a crime. She comes out of the sun in a silk dress running like a watercolor in the rain. Don't bother asking for explanation. She'll just tell you that she came in the Year of the Cat. Isn't that nice? This guy could write. The cover, look at that. See all those cats? It's thing, you know, it's like you just buy this to look at and find all the cats. It's done by Hypnosis, the guy that did like the Pink Floyd, and I mean, just tons of artwork, especially in England. Well, he did this also, and it is just filled with cats. It's about a cat lady obsessed with cats. This album just brings back happy memories from college. It always brings a smile to my face and something I totally enjoy. So number 79, Al Stewart, Year of the Cat.
The captain's locking down the pages out. We're on our way to nowhere now. Can't bring the helm about. None of us are left in any doubt. We won't be back again.
Number 78, 1741, George Friedrich Handel's Messiah. This is my dad's copy. I have a number on CD. When I was a young child, I never thought much about this. My dad even performed in it. He was an incredible tenor. I just thought, oh God, I got to go to this. Now in college, I listened and I learned to appreciate it. For the last 40 years of my life, every Christmas day, I play it from start to finish. And I play it throughout the year because a lot of times we think of this as Christmas, but it's not. It's 3 parts. It has really 3 movements. The first is the birth of Christ. The second is his passion, death, and resurrection. And the fourth is his redemption. Of course, the second part ends with the Hallelujah chorus. This was first done, Handel did it in Dublin for the Irish, and he played it for them in 1742. Went over okay, went to London, and they didn't much care for it. It's like, whatever. See, Handel was known for doing big orchestration. but the original Messiah was really subdued. There wasn't even a big chorus to sing. It was just some choir boys. Handel never heard this performed by a large chorus. And you think about today, you think about the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. My God. This gives me chills. I mean, even now as it's playing in the background, I have absolute chills from the beauty of this piece of music. Handel, to me, he understood how to make music that was joyful, that brought emotion, and just a happy type emotion to make you feel good. This is powerful. It is just one of the most powerful pieces of music that I ever hear. And still, it brings tears to my eyes, the beauty of it. That's from 1741, number 78. My go-to, one of the all-time greatest pieces of music ever made, Handel's Messiah. Number 77, Robert Cray, Strong Persuader, from 1986. This album just burst out of the starting gate with Smoking Gun, and then it just kept going on talking about cheating with Right Next Door, and I Guess I Showed Her. This had a lot of talk about being wronged by someone, or the singer wronging someone else. Robert Cray's guitar, it just blasted from the speakers, and really it brought blues back. It brought blues back to the mainstream. What really helped is it's highlighted by the Memphis horns. They're all over this album, and this album has more horns than he has on any of his other albums, which really grabbed my attention. This was his 5th album, and it sold over 2 million, and still it's the Robert Cray album people talk about, and it also won a Grammy Award. And for me, it was the pinnacle. Everything else I grade against this. It's filled with songs about sex and infidelity, and in the stories, it's just about people like you and me. It's just really, really down to earth. I Guess I Showed Her, and this has this smoking guitar solo going on that's emphasized by the horns blasting right behind it. There's the song Right Next Door, and what I liked about the lyrics of Right Next Door. Let's see. It goes something like, "I'm such a strong persuader. She was just another notch on my guitar. She's going to lose the man that loves her. In the silence, I can hear their breaking hearts." Isn't that emotional? Man, it punches at you. And that's what he did. You listen to these lyrics, and they are filled with that kind of emotion. Really incredible stuff. This is probably the first blues album I ever bought. And I've taken stuff from the library, I'd been taping that, but to actually go down and plunk money down, I would say this was my first blues album. And his guitar work was incredible, and it's still great. I love Robert Cray. He's done so much good stuff. He brought Stax back. It has that Stax feel to it. Every song on here, Foul Play, Fantasize, New Blood, Nothing But a Woman. Right, there's kind of a happy song. Nothing but a woman, nothing but a woman for me. So he has some of that too, but for the most part, This is about sex and infidelity. It's the blues, baby. Number 77, Robert Cray. Number 76, television, Marquee Moon. This came out in 1977. Television, you could say, is probably the most least successful punk band ever to come out of CBGBs. Of all the early punk bands, these guys just didn't happen. And guess what record label they signed with? Elektra, the same one that had Iggy Pop at the start. Elektra couldn't figure out Iggy Pop. They couldn't figure out television, and it just all fell apart for them. I got into television in the 80s. I was trying to track down punk, and I was kind of this journey of finding the people that started punk rock. Who are the ones that the founding fathers of it, shall we say? And you can see, look at that, it's a cutout, because it just didn't sell. And so this was part of my quest. Television's known for their twin guitar attack of Tom Verlaine and Richard Lloyd. And this twin guitar, it created this very unique guitar sound that kind of turned away from the bluesy kind of feel and created something totally different. In fact, what you would find was Verlaine, he would have this rhythmic phrasing going on, and then Lloyd would come in with just these warped melody lines and counter melodies, which gave them that unique look. It just starts off with See No Evil, one of those classic punk tracks. And again, and I say punk, but it's hard to say television was, a punk band, because they were so much more. I guess they were a thinking man's punk. It's really hard to explain this group. They're just so different, and they were they were out there. The critics loved this band, but the public they didn't give a rat's ass about them. It wasn't anything big. It wasn't about the lyrics or anything. No one was that interested. So I call it intellectual punk music. This band, they influenced Sonic Youth. They influenced the Pixies. They were an influence to U2, along with many, many other bands. So they were important. For me, I was excited to get this. And, again, the song See No Evil just was amazing. But they have Venus, Friction, the song Marquee Moon. Marquee Moon. That thing goes on for like 13 minutes. Important album from a very important group that at the time no one ever cared about. Number 76 from 1977, television's Marquee Moon. Here we go, number 75, Elvis Costello, this year's model. This came out in 1978. This was the second album, but it was the first one that he did with the Attractions. This album's about angry young man, the angry man, Elvis Costello himself. The songs on this, they're surrounded with this swirling organs, and there's just really this heart-pulsing rhythm section. You see, the Attractions were a rock and roll band, and they brought that in. They brought grit. And his lyrics on this album deal with, revenge and guilt and love gone wrong. And basically there's not much happiness involved. I explored Elvis Costello after my college years. I was, in college, the late 70s. Hello, here's Cat, yay. He's back, and he's been out in the snow, and his paws are cold and muddy and on my dress pants, and it's really awesome right now, and I'm thrilled. Come on. So now he tossed me off. So I saw him in Elvis, but I mean, in college, I go, who is this guy? I mean, look at him. Looks kind of like a dork. Well, I guess he kind of looked like me, quite honestly. But Elvis Costello, didn't know anything about him. So I never really bought him. And then later, I got into him and I learned about him. Many of the songs on this were left over from his first album, My Aim Is True. He just brought them in, and still you just have this hard, angry punk sound to it. I mean, there's Pump It Up, and Pump It Up just starts with this crazy thumping bass, and it just makes you want to get up, and then the organ just blasts in there, and there's a chorus that has everyone just doing the sing-along. I mean, who doesn't love Pump It Up? Songs like Little Trigger, I mean, it's a quieter song, but it is sung with such menace. No, you don't need to bite my face. Lipstick Vogue, there's another great song. I mean, it has kind of a hypnotic feel to it when you think about it, but yet there's this incredible drumming going on by Pete Thomas during the whole thing. And it just shakes that song right to the core. And then comes in Elvis's fast-paced vocals. This album is the US version, so it has Radio, which was not on the UK version. They had Going to Chelsea. And I love Radio. I mean, that song, you talk about something, it just opens with that roar of an organ. My God, and the drumming just goes. And then suddenly it goes quiet. And there's just the bass and the vocals. And the bass just keeps thumping through the whole song. I mean, it's one of those incredible bass riffs. And, one of the lyrics I really like is, I want to bite the hand that feeds me. I want to bite it so badly. Angry young man. What an incredible album. His first four you can't go wrong with, but for me, this is my go-to Elvis Costello album. This year's model, 1977, number 75. Say goodbye, Cat. Number 74, Joe Walsh. But seriously, folks, this came out in 1978. This, to me, is Joe Walsh's most insightful and melodic album. I was a sophomore in college when this came out, and of course, I'd heard the hit "Life's Been Good to Me," but I bought this album, and it became so much more. I loved every single track on this album, and to this day I still love every track because it was filled with catchy hooks and tight harmonies, and there was just some incredibly great guitar solos going on, but they were very restrained, and they added punch to the song. There's the song Theme from the Boat of Weirdos, and it has this melancholy instrumental that's happening, and it has a slow, dreamy feel, which is then broken up with some very, very tasteful guitar playing, kind of like floating on a smooth sea. The album begins with Over and Over, and that's just has this top-notch Joe Walsh guitar solo, and it's a song about rejuvenation. Secondhand Store, the second song. It's about a mid-career indecision. Not sure what you want to do. You're midway in life. What do I want to do with my life? And the song keeps building with intensity, but does not become bombastic. Indian Summer, which is playing in the background. It explores, shall we say, simpler times. He's looking back at his past. It begins with just the simple strumming of an acoustic guitar, and then he's joined by the rest of the band, and it just finishes with another great Walsh guitar solo. And then there's the most sarcastic song of all time, Life's Been Good to Me. I mean, that thing is a masterpiece. It's ode to being a rock star in the rock star party. My goodness. He had no problem making fun of himself, and that's what it's about. It's all about him making fun of himself. It's extremely catchy and has great lyrics. Jeez, Pat. Just an incredibly fun album that I have yet to tire to. Beautiful stuff. Joe Walsh, but seriously, folks, from 1978. Number 73, Stevie Wonder's Talking Book. This came out in 1972. This is one of the first albums I ever bought. Has Braille even. And it was because I had heard the song Sunshine of My Life and I really liked it. So through Columbia Record Club, I purchased this. I must have been having puppy love at the time, you know? I really wasn't prepared for the song Superstition. That one really blew me away. This was his 15th studio album, 1972, 15th studio album, and this one went to number 1. This album, it's filled with funk and soul. It has slow tempo, fast tempo. There's songs of love, songs of heartbreak, a little something for everyone, shall we say. You Are the Sunshine of My Life. It was a song, it was filled with joy and happiness. It was, something that absolutely Motown would love. I mean, it hit number 1 and won a Grammy. It was kind of a Motown type song. But then there was that song, Maybe Your Baby. And Maybe Your Baby, it had this really dirty organ and synthesizers going on. And it really it filled the song with this really sludgy funk. Stevie played every instrument except for the guitar solo that was done by Ray Parker Jr. Ghostbusters. Maybe Your Baby, maybe Your Baby made some other plans. Showed that it was not an album about love. Oh my God. Superstition. What's to say about that? I mean, he just had a badass clavinet that was going on, and it was his cynical take on free love and everything that was surrounded. Again, Dirty Funk went to number 1. There's the beautiful, very slow tempo, You and I Can Conquer the World. And one of my favorite songs is what it ended with. It ends with the incredible I Believe. I believe when I fall in love with you, it will last forever. If you think of the movie High Fidelity, that's the song it ended with. What a gorgeous song. It starts off slow with him singing with the piano and a synthesizer. But the vocal keeps building and building till finally it comes into this gospel type choir at the end. And I believe when I fall in love with you, it will be forever. I mean, beautiful. What a great way to end an album. The last song you hear is of hope and love. Yeah, I'm not all about angry music. Incredible album. One of my very earliest albums that I ever bought, and one I love to this day as a go-to. Stevie Wonder's Talking Book, 1972.
Oh yes, my love has gone astray, but I'll blame it on the sun that didn't shine. I'll blame it on the wind and trees. I'll blame it on the time, whoever was enough.
Number 72, Sly and the Family Stone, Stand. This came out in 1969. You want a party on a platter? You need to buy this one. When I joined Columbia Record Club, I talk a lot about that, but that was where I got a lot of my albums. And you had 13 albums for a penny, and I bought Sly and the Family Stone's greatest hits. that introduced me to his music. And I heard the song, You Gotta Take Me Higher. It just, oh my God, this is something. I mean, this album, this was filled with optimism. This is an album about brother and brother helping each other. Skin tone really didn't matter. We're all one. 2 years later, 1971, out comes, so there's a riot going on. Everything changed. But when this came out, it was just this wonderful, it was a mix of rock and soul and funk and psychedelic music that was happening by the septet. Spent 100 weeks on the charts. Can you believe that? Went to number 13. Just an amazing album. It had the #1 smash, Everyday People, which was a song about tolerance, and had that iconic phrase, different strokes for different folks. And Graham, Larry Graham, the bass player, he introduced the slap pop bass on that, and he was doing that over nursery rhyme type lyrics. There's a song that's called Don't Call Me Nigger, where Sly brings in the wah-wah guitar, and it just has this really dark vibe to it. Sing a Simple Song is on here, and it's a sunshiny song. It has the communal vocals and this kind of like a harmonious organ happening. But my favorite by far is I Want to Take You Higher, and that was funk. It just had this dance floor groove, and going into the next decade with disco, that song was huge. Think of all the samples that have been pulled off that. It had this blues guitar that was going on, but gospel choir type vocals, and it was propelled by just this 4/4 beat that's just boom, boom, boom. Made it very danceable. And then the horns. The horns were punchy, and they just blasted right out of the speakers. I mean, it just screams for you to get up out of your feet. I have a hard time right now. I mean, let me tell you, the booty wants to go listening to this song. There's just so much going on. Classic funk songs. One of the greatest songs of all times in my mind. There was Sex Machine. It was like 13 minutes of the band trading solos and Sly scatting through amplified distortion. Such an essential album, a powerhouse album from 1969, Sly and the Family Stone stand. Number 71, The Cars from 1978. You know, as soon as you dropped the needle on this album back in 1978, you knew you were in for something that was completely different and new. As it started off the song, Let the Good Times Roll. It was, shall we say, it was the dawn of new wave. And the Cars drove up, and they parked the car right there. And for the next 139 weeks, this album stayed on the chart. I mean, you talk about a huge album. It came out during my sophomore year of college, and it was just played everywhere. And this group, along with Blondie, really changed the musical landscape and ushered in new wave music. If you ever want to know, if you ever question what does new wave sound like, you need to listen to this. That is new wave music. Elektra signed this band. Yes, Elektra that signed Iggy Pop and signed Television got it right. They did it. They finally did something. Yay for Elektra. Screwed up on the other two. You know, there's My Best Friend Girl, and it's playing in the background. And what I really like is it starts with this lower guitar, you know, it's in this lower, in a lower register, these guitar chords, and it's the hand claps that are going on. And then along comes Ocasek's vocals, and then it just kicks in with the chorus. You know, after Ocasek wrote the lyrics, he had it all laid out. He found out that he never even put in My Best Friend's Girl. He had to go back and rewrite the chorus to make sure he put that in. There's the song Just What I Needed. And this was sung by Benjamin Orr. Benjamin Orr, you know, R.I.P. God rest his soul. He had such a beautiful voice. But the opening riff for that song was borrowed from the song Yummy, Yummy, Yummy by the Ohio Express. And then Greg Hawkins has this keyboard riff that really gave it a modern feel to it. You're All I Got Tonight. It just has an incredible tom-tom drum beat going on that then leads into these power chord riff using a distorted guitar. I mean, it just grabs your attention. And then, of course, the band comes in and they're doing just beautiful harmony. There's that very dark song, Moving in Stereo, that totally changes the pace. What an amazing album. Came out, an album that changed music. It changed the landscape. We went from punk to new wave, thanks in a large part to the Cars, their debut album from 1978. Folks, thank you once again for watching. For a very long video. I know, I did it again. It went over 30. I don't know how I'm going to get it under. I apologize, but it's just the way it is. But I hope you enjoyed my go-to picks from number 80 to 71. I know I do. They make me smile. They make me feel good. And maybe there's something you haven't heard before. So thanks for tuning in again. And looking forward to getting the next one set up. And we'll see where I go when I get into the 60s. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.